Hello, sweet parents. Welcome to the When Our Adult Children Walk Away podcast. My name is Dr. Janet Steinkamp, and during each episode of When Our Adult Children Walk Away, I will provide my professional and personal insights, information and opportunities for your self-reflection and growth, tips and tricks to make every day count, and encouragement to keep moving forward. I'm here to help you dig deep and get down to the root causes so that you can find your way out of the darkness to a positive and lasting relationship. Grab your notebook and a pen, settle into your favorite chair, and let's get to it. Welcome to the When Our Adult Children Walk Away podcast. This is a space for parents and adult children who are working to understand and navigate a degree of distance and estrangement in a relationship. This episode really focuses on understanding both roles, dad and grandfather, and how clarity in these roles and how to move between them will bring you a sense of calm and confidence and peace. If this episode resonates with you and you find that you'd like to learn more about it, please make sure you listen to the second episode on this same topic, where we take a much deeper dive into the two roles and how we can move between them, why it's important, and how we navigate our estrangement or our growing estrangement and still maintain relationship with the grandkids, or if we even can. So I believe that understanding, learning, knowing what's happening and how to manage through a particular aspect of estrangement is key to reconnection. So in short, what I'm saying is knowledge is power. I believe that to my very core. So I'm glad you're here, and I want to just jump right into this. I hear from dads, fathers, grandpas, that they feel pretty powerless when their adult child pulls away. Just in general, they don't know what to do with that. They tend to withdraw, step back. 92%-ish, the research shows us, of work in estrangement is done by the mom. That doesn't mean the dad doesn't care. It doesn't mean he's not invested or worried or hurt or angry or any of the same emotions of the mom. It's simply that moms and dads experience it differently. They handle it differently. I'll also tell you the research shows us estrangements that involve a mom repair at a higher rate than estrangements that involve dads. And adult children tell us it is because of that emotional reserve that they find it more difficult to approach a dad, to reach out to a dad. So, of course, all of this information needs to be taken in context to your circumstances, the events and the relationship status and all of the different components of your own relationship, and apply it appropriately. I am speaking in generalities and really encourage you to take a look at your own situation and apply this information in ways that make sense. So if you are someone who's trying to navigate a faltering relationship with an adult child and maintain a relationship with your grandchildren, that's like a double whammy. You're feeling, I'm guessing, twice as powerless, twice as unable to understand, and it makes it even more tempting to pull back further, not to make the phone call to the grandkids, not to be involved in taking care of them. Sometimes avoidance is just less painful. It's also less helpful for reconnection. I just want you to know, if you're feeling withdrawn, that is a very natural experience. In estrangements, dads tell us that they don't even know what it looks like to be a dad or a grandpa in estrangement. They don't know what to do with the quiet and the silence. I do have a number of episodes out on the silence and related topics, so make sure you go and look for those other episodes related to that. In this episode, we're just looking at the difference, but I want to acknowledge that there are many different layers to this onion. And for dads, that is also true. It simply looks different in how dads experience and navigate estrangement. So what does it mean to be a dad to an adult child when your relationship is faltering or estranged? And I mean anywhere on the continuum of estrangement. You may still have contact. I hope you still have contact to some degree, even if it is through one of your adult child's siblings, if it's through a close mutual friend, if it's through your spouse, maybe they're only estranging from one parent or the other. Any contact that they maintain is better than none, right? A connection keeps you connected by association. And your adult child knows that, or they would have cut contact in different ways. So a dad to an adult child transitions from protector and provider to mentor and a steady supporter. Now that, again, gross generalization. Moms also provide support and defend and provide. That's not necessarily gender specific. It is culturally a perception of our roles. And as much as we've worked to dispel that completely, it still is a part of our culture. Now, I'm talking specifically to the US, Canada, Australia, some of the more traditional countries. There are certainly listeners in other countries who need to apply that statement to their own culture. Primarily, dads to an adult child in their years of transition from adolescent into young adult and adult need to have moved from protector and provider to mentor and steady supporter. So the emotional strength replaces the instruction and the listening and the fixing. So if the emotional strength was not there to begin with, you have an extra challenge because you need to first demonstrate the emotional strength and then remain consistent and sit back in a steady supporter role. That's no small ask. I know that. I understand that that's a lot for a person to do. And it's our work. It needed to have been going on, if it didn't, from those late adolescent years into today in your relationship. We can't make up for missteps in our early years by trying to parent as we wanted to in the early years to our adult child. It's not appropriate. They won't accept it. It won't work. It will backfire. We can acknowledge it. We can own it. Our adult children are begging for that. We weren't perfect parents, and it's okay to say it. It's okay to say it. It's okay to own that. For one thing, we're modeling to them that they're not going to be perfect parents. As much as they try to be, they're not. We are human. We are naturally flawed. Our adult children tell us they need their dads to listen, to be a repository of information, to take information in and not judge, not correct, not assess, not instruct, just to listen and support. Wow, that sounds like that was miserable. Ugh, it's so hard to make those decisions at work. And I'm sure that you did your very best. We all do our best given what we have in any moment. And I trust and am proud of you. That's all. That they don't need more than that. It's really hard to keep our tongues, right? Because there are some things that we can see that would have been key in changing the outcome, but it's not our outcome, and it's theirs to fix. So you can be that calm presence for them. Even when they ask for your advice, I suggest it is not actually the advice that they're looking for. It may be in some of the more concrete sequential quandaries, like maybe it's accounting, taxes, what's the tax law, and you're an accountant. It's okay to share information, not necessarily your advice. If they need tax advice in that example, the information you might share is, here's my tax person, give them a call. I'm sure they'd be glad to help you. This is not a problem that can't be solved. I think they would be your best resource. I am here to support you in any way I can. That is more our role now as a parent partner. So I want you to think about what it means, what it would look like to you and to your adult child if you communicated to them that you believed in their capability. What would that look like? Think about that. Spend some time on that. Do you do it now? How do you do it? How do you try to do it? What's your intent? And what changes could be made? How could your approach and intent be delivered differently so it lands with them as you intend? That is the work I do. That is the work I encourage you to do. If I can be of assistance, let me know. So let's move on to what it means to be grandpa. So for a dad, it's important that you understand your influence and how you can influence through trust. So grandpa is an extension of family love, not a second dad, not a second parent. A grandpa extends love and creates a relationship through the access of the dad. The dad is the boss. The dad's the gatekeeper. The dad is in charge. And at any time that we usurp that or try to usurp that, we run the risk of alienation. We run the risk of losing access to our grandkids. So if you think that there's something that you need from dad or a rule you need to just bend for a minute or change, ask that without the grandchildren looking, not in the presence of the grandchildren. Have that conversation with dad. Yeah, I know the kids have to be in bed by 8 o'clock. I'm wondering if this one time, because of these reasons, we could make it 8:30. Ask dad. If dad defers to mom, ask mom. I'm encouraging you not to make those decisions in a vacuum. Your relationship and your ability to bypass or move through your relationship with your adult child is dependent on that trust and the permission of the adult child. So your steadiness, we talk about the anchor, emotional anchor, that's the steadiness and your respect for the boundaries. That's where they get that emotional anchor. It's saying you as the dad, you as the father are important, and I look to you for your guidance and your endorsement of me as grandpa. So it's mutually beneficial. It builds a mutual trust and a mutual level of success when we know our roles. So then the question is, how do you move between the two? When are you dad and when are you grandpa? Because they are not the same relationship. So you need to ask yourself, am I modeling the patience that I want my family to feel safe around? Am I modeling the behavior to my son as grandpa that I hope he will take into his interpersonal skills for when he's the granddad to my grandchildren's children? Is my knowledge moving through the generation? That's one way we can be a dad and a grandpa. Gaining knowledge from your adult child, son or daughter, makes your ability to be a grandparent more solid. You can feel more confident. You can have some emotional freedom. You can be more relaxed around the grandkids. We never, ever badmouth parents. Wow, your mom really lost control there, didn't she? Nope, we can't do that. We can say, wow, that was uncomfortable. I get it. She must be, really at the end of her rope. Let's go see if there's something we can do. So you acknowledge what happens. You acknowledge that it was uncomfortable. You acknowledge that your grandchildren may also be feeling uncomfortable. And then you defend. And you suggest a way to repair. That's one way our grandchildren will learn to repair. And frankly, our children's generation does not necessarily know how to repair. They don't. And so by us modeling those skills, that's one way we can help them learn that as adults. So again, the clarity in these roles, understanding the knowledge of the difference between these roles creates emotional confidence for you. It can strengthen your understanding of when you're dad, when you're grandpa, the difference between the two, and how to move between them. It quiets the eggshells. It makes us less fearful of the misstep. Now, we may not agree with what answer we get when we ask questions. The answer might be, no, the kids have to be in bed by 8. But then the kids have to be in bed by 8. We don't argue. We don't do any of the negotiating, bargaining. We respect the decision. We respect their position. And we accommodate. That's what we do. We can roll our eyes when we get home. My coaching clients roll their eyes with me. We have a good laugh at some of the things we hear and some of the things that go on. That happens in the safety and privacy of our conversations, not with people who will spread that to our adult children so they feel like we're laughing behind their backs. That's not the goal, right? We want to avoid that. We want to not do it to begin with. We want to process in a safe position so we can experience our own emotions, not risking the relationship. So to close, I want to encourage you in either role, dad or grandpa, that you respond calmly, that you use your maturity and wait for opportunities where you can be productive and reinforce trust with your adult child, and by virtue, you will be given more trust with your grandchildren. If this information resonated for you, and it's not as muddy as mud, because introducing these topics can be really challenging, and I hope that what I'm saying makes some sense for you. If it did, please make sure that you listen to that second episode where we dig into this deeper, rerun this podcast, listen to it again. If you're finding help in this podcast or any of my podcasts, I would invite you to share the resource, share the information with others who you know are struggling with these same sorts of challenges. As many as 30% of the overall population is struggling with an estrangement. That's no small thing. There are people that you know, people I know, who are struggling with this in silence and in the dark. Watch for the families whose children disappear from the family Christmas card, for example. Take note of those things. There may be, some trouble there. And you can be honest about your situation. It's tough. When so-and-so decided not to talk to me, it was tough. And I'm trying to find my way through it, and I'm getting help to do it. So thank you for joining me here. I do hope you'll join me again. And if you have questions or would like to talk more about this, jump over to the When Our Adult Children Walk Away website and send me a message, or you can email me at janet@jesteinkamp.com. I do get my messages. It can take up to 3 days for me to respond. I do respond in person, and so it just takes a little longer for me to get back to people. So remember, every small step you take to learn and understand your circumstances is a step toward healing and a step toward reconnection. Remember, you're not alone.